this episode of Who Gets the China, where we're helping you navigate life with aging parents with grace and humor and patience. And today I'm super excited about my guest. We are new friends, but fast friends. This is Nancy of NK Nicholson Consulting. She is just a gem of a person and has really a fascinating business that I can't wait for everybody to learn more about. I'm super excited to learn from her today. So, Nancy specializes in guiding families through transitions with personalized logistical and emotional support, ensuring that every step is handled with care and dignity. And I wanted to read that exactly because I feel like every word is so perfectly chosen. And so I love it. And I'm excited to dig into what this means for us as we cope with our aging parents or aging family members or just loved ones, right? So thanks for being here today, Nancy.
My pleasure. Thanks for including me.
So, can you just give a couple minute overview of how you evolved into doing this?
Sure. As a person from a military background, we moved around a lot. So your items are always in question as to what you are going to take and what you will leave behind. It's a great way for cleaning out things. But as I went through my life and career, other synergistic things came up where I was actually able to use those operation, logistics, and certainly emotional supportive skills that I'd learned throughout my time working and certainly in life. So those were all those different components have played a big part in coming to where I am today in offering a service that I feel at this stage of my life is something that I was looking to use and certainly to help others with.
Nice. I kind of love this age. I don't know that we're the exact same age, but we're in a similar age. And I love this kind of culmination of all of our life experience, work experience, family experience, kind of coming into a new purpose. And so that's been kind of one of the great side benefits of doing this project is that I can really learn from other women that have, and men that have kind of done amazing things and have now turned it to help others. So thanks for sharing that with us today. And so for me, this idea of this Who Gets the China project was really born out of the realization of all the stuff that we have, right? We have, as a family, as a generation, we have a lot of stuff that we've accumulated that we're proud of, that we're happy to have. But but someday it's going to have to get transitioned, right? Either to a new house or a new family member or some other place because we might not need it anymore. And so I'm excited to pick your brain today about how we can, with grace and love and caring, downsize and help people navigate the things that they've collected. Kind of what I would thought might be a fun way to think about it is go back to kind of those original questions you learned in media training 101, which was let's talk about the who, what, when, where, and why of writing kind of a news article, because I feel like that breaks down really nicely for what we're going to talk about. For me, the first thing that popped into my mind was the where. Where do we even begin when we know we need to start this process? And I'd love to hear sort of some of your coaching on, okay, how do we start?
Great question. And it is. It's an overwhelming thought of where do you start? So, a very appropriate question. Thank you. I feel that at this stage of talking with people and with any conversation you have with anybody in your life, you kind of have to figure out where they are, what's important to them, and starting simply. There's no need to dive into very deep issues until you have an opportunity to just speak about the things that are important to the person that you're engaging. So, where do you start? It could be as simple as asking if there's an art piece in your parents' house that is something that you would like to find out a little bit more about, or maybe it's something that you've loved. So just introducing the subject to someone is a great place to start. And the other parts that are really important to kind of understand is when you look about organization or downsizing or any of these different issues that you're we're talking about today, a lot of that is very sensitive information. And so to try and make it in a way that doesn't seem like you need to go down a checklist of
Hmm.
what it is that you want to get or want to learn from the person that you're engaging. So any sort of stories that could be told as well is really a great way to start to introduce those items as you start to go through finding out what somebody's going to do with their things.
Right. Well, so that's a great insight because I think in my mind, and you tell me what you think about this, I kind of was like, okay, let's start with some of the small, what I thought were inconsequential things, right? Like, let me go through my mom's desk. She's got carbon paper in there that she moved from Connecticut to California back in the late 90s. And like, we don't have typewriters. We're not going to use that. Surely there's no emotional attachment to that, right? But what I kind of quickly learned is I was wrong. I mean, I'm not saying she was emotionally attached to the carbon paper, but the things that you think don't have value to your parent or your loved one, like actually there is value, even if you don't understand it.
Right. And I think that part of the discussion is always about why it's important to them. Again, that opportunity to understand why it might be important to keep. And sometimes it's just to say, oh, it was my carbon copy I used. It was my first letter that I wrote and I saved the copy. And we're in such an age of technology where we can do so many wonderful things to take a picture of something, to save it. There's also other ways to start to think about cleaning things out. People are always overwhelmed with, I have to save all my paperwork. I'm not an accountant, but I know that there's a certain point where you can start to shed
Hmm.
years back that's not something that you need to keep. And so those are ways, not only with paperwork, but certainly with items inside your drawers, which many of them are just there because you threw them in to begin with and haven't thought about them in 20 years. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about my dad's office, right? Like he's got a lot of stuff in that office. And my dad was a very successful business person and so he's saved a lot of things, but they moved. So a lot of stuff was, disposed of. But when we were going through the garage looking for other things, I did find a box of folders related to like a startup that he had tried to do later in life. And it was kind of, I mean, that was 25 or 30 years ago, and I'm like, Dad, do we still need this? And he was fine to get rid of it. But I mean, it had been in the garage for 20 years. And I mean, I feel that too, right? Because I have some things that I've held on to. Like, why am I holding on to this amazing presentation that I gave 25 years ago? I don't know. I did such a great job. I want to save it. But like, what am I doing with it? But being intentional about saying, okay, I've acknowledged that, I've appreciated it, and now it can go.
yes. And again, the brilliance of technology is these things can still be saved electronically, if not physically, and that offers the opportunity to still keep something that might be important and yet not have the physical part of that. So,
Right.
yeah.
So let's talk about the when. Because with the very first time we talked, you said something to me, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, okay, I've got to get on this. So talk to me for a minute about your advice for when we start having these conversations.
Sure, sure. Many times doing it earlier is better. It's a conversation everybody's uncomfortable about, and they want to figure out when's the right time to talk. So much of what happens when your aging parents are at a latter part of their lives where they're very settled, they don't want change. And to start thinking about things earlier is always an option to make that process be a little bit smoother and certainly not all at the same time when they might be overwhelmed. So I like to think of starting things 20 years before maybe a big move even to start understanding what's important in the process of moving someone. And that's everything from the art on the walls, the paperwork that's in the drawers, but also to have kind of a conversation about what might be given in advance of trying to get to moving or to passing away or whatever, and having those items be enjoyed during the time that parent is still alive. So maybe there is a piece of artwork that you've loved that you've said, I would really love to have that eventually. And they would say, well, maybe I'd like to give it to you now so I can watch you enjoy it. But they would
Hmm.
never know that unless they were having that conversation with you to understand that that's something that you valued.
I mean, as putting myself in my own shoes for a minute, it's awkward to say that sometimes, right? It's like I don't want to say to my mom, "Oh, I mean, she knows there's certain things that I like." It's a little awkward, right? To say
Oh,
that.
it is definitely awkward. And that's why conversations started earlier are better. And it's not like you're asking to take it away right away, but it's also understanding that that was something that's valuable to you and it means something. It has meaning to you. And valuable has it's all the word valuable has so many different meanings to it. But honestly, I feel as a parent and then as a child of still a parent that's still alive that part of that conversation is really helpful for both sides to be able to talk about. And certainly, where did you get? We're using the artwork as our kind of focus point right now. But where did they get it? What's the history on it? To have that conversation about what it meant also is your opportunity to really have that story for yourself as
Right.
well, and certainly to pass along. So it's just the process, and it doesn't happen, as you well know, with your parents. It doesn't just happen on one visit. And it's something that's over time. So taking the time to kind of understand what they're looking for, where they want to live, any of those kind of things would be so much. Do I want to stay in this house? Is this house going to be something I'll want to have grab bars put in? And that's a whole nother conversation. But do you want to stay in the place? Or are you willing to go somewhere? And that
Hmm.
also helps with how to go through all the stuff that's still in the house.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is interesting. I talked to my parents about this. Where do you want all your stuff to go? How do you want to deal with it? And basically, it's, well, we're not going to leave our house, so it's just going to all stay here. Thank you very much. I don't really want to do anything with any of it. And that's a challenge too, because eventually somebody has to deal with it. I mean, my mom likes to cut out these articles from the Wall Street Journal that talk about how the kids of boomers or whatever don't want their stuff anymore, and she gives those to
Mm.
me. And I think she wants me to reassure her that I will take her some of her stuff or her stuff. But it is hard when people aren't ready to face the reality of like maybe you're going to have to downsize, right?
Yeah.
So like let's do it a little bit at a time, or let's start some of it earlier. Let's get rid of the things that don't matter and put them to good use. Let somebody else enjoy them. But
Exactly.
yeah, it's a process and better done a little at a time because I find that I mean, I have pretty good energy, but I run out of energy. But for sure, my mom, after an hour or two of trying to go through a dresser in the bedroom, she's like, okay, I'm done. Right? Like I've gotten to my limit. I'm tapped out. I can't do anymore.
Yeah. It's an exhausting prospect. I know that I've had an elderly client in her 90s. And the process was not something she was looking forward to. She was looking forward to meeting me and talking with me, but the process was daunting for her. So also understanding that there is that kind of balance that you'll have to go through in order to make sure that the person that you're working with isn't overwhelmed, and to understand and recognize that each time that you take a box out the door, that's a part of their life.
Hmm.
And sometimes that can be really tough, and just to recognize it and then understand that that will make it easier for them to find things, to make it safer. All of these things are issues that you'll want to deal with, especially if you have an older parent or an older friend that you're working with, trying to do this kind of downsizing or looking through their things.
So I love that you just kind of segued into my next question, which was the why, right? Why are we doing this? And I think my mom likes to say, here you come again doing the Swedish death cleaning. Why do you want me to get rid of all this stuff? And for me, the why is I know they want to age in place. And I want their home, their life to be set up in such a way that they can be safe there. They can be there as long as possible. So that's my why. But I mean, from where you sit, why don't we just wait till the end and just let it be? I mean,
And
give me a good why.
some people just will not do it. And I would say, just kind of matter of course, the older people get, the less likely they are to start to want to get rid of things. Just human nature. Those walls start to close in a little bit, and that's just what it is. But why take the time each time? I feel like part of that is to have the stories behind it. And as you go through those things, you get those rich stories. As a child with aging parents, you understand that you'll have never had learned half of what has gone on in their lives. It's just not possible. So
Right.
to have those cues with things in the drawers or things on the walls or experiences that they have, and there's so many wonderful tools that you can use to capture those things. Just a simple recording of it is always really nice to be able to have because you don't know what that was. But it also allows the lifting of the responsibility of what it was and the release of what it might be to be able to send it along maybe to somebody else that would really be able, as you said, to enjoy it, and not just keep it in a drawer where it's been sitting for 30 years.
Right. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like this is becoming a through line of a lot of these conversations that I'm having. And one example is my mom's half brother was in Vietnam. He was a sweet, sweet uncle, lovely man. But I wouldn't say that I ever really knew his story about being in Vietnam because I don't think people often shared that. And one day I was going through, I don't know, a box of something with my mom, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is all the letters that Uncle Tommy wrote us from when he
Mm.
was in Vietnam." And I'm
Yeah,
thinking to myself, well, like, this is a great reason to be going through stuff because otherwise I would have never known that they were there, that they existed. And like for me at this point in my life, uncovering some of that depth of our family's story is really compelling and something that I really do want to do. So last time I was there, I'm like, first thing let's do, let's find the letters. Of course, we couldn't quite find where they were, but anyway, well, I'm sure we'll get to them next time. But I mean, I like that why of shifting from we just need to get stuff out of here so it's done to we're here to share stories, to connect, to understand our family's history. I mean, that to me is like that's actually fun, right? That's a good reason to do it.
absolutely. And those, again, those letters can all be digitized. I mean, as much as we hate to say everything is electronic, it's a gift. It's
Yeah,
a gift because, like right now, you're trying to find those letters. You'll know where they are next time.
maybe if I can
If
figure
you
out where
put
I
them
save them in my
in the,
cloud.
yeah, you put them in the cloud. That's right. That's right. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about the who for a minute because again, you gave me a big insight when we were talking a couple of weeks ago or months ago about who. Because I have just been of the assumption that of course it should be me and my sister. So talk to me about the who. Who should be doing this work with our
Sure.
older
I think
parents?
I think it's a gift to be able to have your kids go through the process with you. It's lovely. It's not always A, practical, or B, even something that happens naturally due to so many different things. I think that in our lives, our parents are very protective of us and or private and not necessarily giving up of all the information that might be valuable to the kids or to friends or whoever that might be. So sometimes having a third party come in and work with a couple or an individual sometimes makes it a little easier because those questions aren't really having to be, they're not being judged by
Mm-hmm.
a family member. So the family member is amazing. And it's also not always convenient for the family members. They live in different places. I mean, you're lucky you can travel to visit your parents, but not everybody can do that. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes having somebody local that is a good communicator, and I feel that that's part of that process is being open and it's going to take time. And some people don't have the desire to take that kind of time for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so just to have whomever is going through with this process has patience, empathy, and certainly a willingness to take the time to do it because it isn't something that you just sit down, as you said, and do in a day. It just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you're saying, it doesn't have to be a professional. I mean, it could be. It could be
No.
somebody like yourself that you hire
Yes.
that this is what they do. Or it
Yes.
could just be like a family friend that can kind of be
Absolutely.
an intermediary.
Third
especially
party.
when things get emotional, right? Like I know sometimes
Yeah.
my mom will be like, "What are you doing with that item? Where are you going? Are you going to the garage? Don't put it in the trash." I'm not,
Yeah.
and I have to say,
Yeah.
I'm not putting it in the trash. I'm just whatever, moving it. But like
Right.
we're a mother-daughter, so we love
Right.
each other, but of course there's emotion there, and
Yeah.
sometimes that can get in the way. And
Mhm.
so having like a friend or
Right.
somebody else, even a child, honestly, like my kids can say things to my parents that maybe I wouldn't say.
Right.
And my mom can say things to, so like just knowing when you need to maybe bring in a different person, having that
Exactly.
awareness. Yeah.
Exactly. And in a way, the beauty of this, if it's multiple people, the actual time it takes
Yeah.
can be broken up between people, and also the stories enjoyed. So I think that
Right.
that's a win for everyone.
That's
So
true.
yeah.
So I wanted to hear you talk a little bit about this phrase that you used, which is a question to get it started, which is what do you want around you?
Right.
Because I think that positive approach versus it's more of an abundance approach. You have all these lovely things. What matters to you versus like we have to get rid of stuff. What do you want to get rid of?
Right.
So can you just talk a little bit about bringing that approach to this process?
Sure, sure. And actually, one of the stories that I like to tell about that is the overwhelming part is looking in your surroundings and saying, I love all the things that are around me. It's important to have all these things around me. And in the end, they all have a reason why they're there. But so much of what you have is also behind a door or behind a closet or inside a drawer. And you don't see it all the time. So sometimes being able to talk about what you have around you is what you really want to use, to see and to have access to. And most of us have a closet full of things we probably haven't even put on our back in 5 years. And but maybe I will when I'm doing this. But in the end, realistically, there's so many other people out there that could really enjoy the use of these items and not have them be sitting in a closet for no one but you to look at and say, oh, it's still there. And maybe that's important to them, but you have to understand what it is that's important to have around, what they see, what they
Mm-hmm.
use. And then again, I always go back to safety, of
Mm-hmm.
making sure it's easy to get to things and that they're not way in the back of it, something that's important to you. Maybe it needs to be brought forward and something else should be taken out uh, or donated or whatever you want to do with it. So it's importance of
Yes,
what.
I mean, my mind is reeling as you're talking about this because it's true. I mean, eh, like I'm thinking about my parents' laundry room area. One day my dad had a small fall in the laundry room area, and I kind of went down there to see like what's going on here. And I realized like, oh my gosh, I mean, there was a lot of surrounding items that really didn't need to be there. And so in an emergency situation where maybe you lost your footing and you had to grab onto something, you might be grabbing onto something that wasn't secure or useful, right? So like things just navigate their way to the laundry room or whatever, right? You just end up with them there. But from a safety standpoint, okay, let's reimagine this. Maybe it doesn't really need to be like this. You don't need all this stuff where you can see it, right? These can go in a cleaning closet because how often are you polishing the silver, whatever it is. But I think it's interesting because sometimes you need a fresh perspective to look at things that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just visiting my 94-year-old father. And the garage is one of those things that I go in and I think, oh my gosh, every time I watch him get out of the car and maneuver over and around items that are on the ground, it gives me, it gives me a heart attack to think,
Yeah.
gosh, he's gonna fall over these things. So I did, the approach that I took because my dad, much like your parents, when you go to visit, he's somewhere else, so I have to go and visit. I always ask, is there an area, maybe there's an area that we can make a little bit more accessible. And I said, you have all of these things that are sitting here. They've been here because it's easy for you to grab when you're doing something, but is it something you're using frequently? And so just asking if not to get rid of it, but to rearrange it. And then in the process, he would say, oh, yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah.
I don't. And it was just because his attention, it's just because it's there doesn't mean that he sees it.
Right, right. Same
So
for
again,
us.
Right,
Yeah.
your point of moving it. But I remember after I'd finished, he walked out the door to go to the car and he said, "Oh my gosh, I have so much space." And so I thought, yeah, well,
Yeah,
here you
that's what
go. And you
happens.
have all your coolers are all stacked over
Yeah.
here, not all over the place. So yes, it's part
I
of it.
mean, the same with my dad. One day I said I planned way ahead because I don't know, you probably know this better than I do, but in San Diego there is a toxic dump area, right? But you have to plan ahead, or at least that was what I understood to get an appointment. And so you
Yes.
need to plan a couple weeks in advance. So I said, okay, guys, when I'm out there the next time, we're going to the dump. I'm taking dad and we're going to fill the back of the trunk with like any toxic chemicals like turpentine, weed killer, things that you're just I know you think you need it, but when are you going to do this project? And so actually, like, it was kind of fun. I mean, it was silly, but a little bit fun. Like, we got some laughs over it. And when I grew up, there was a store called Caldor, which was like the Target of the 70s. And so we opened some nails and screws, and there were Caldor labels on them and price tags. And I was like, Dad, you know, well, you haven't used these in 50 years. And do you think we really, yeah, just keep it. I might need it. I was like, okay, fine. It's not taking up a lot of space. You want it? It's from Caldor. I don't know. Maybe it has a nice, triggers a good memory, but just that, like starting with what you can do. Let's
Right.
get at least the dangerous items out to the dump. We
Mhm.
did that. And we actually, like, it was kind of a good father-daughter bonding experience.
Bonding thing.
So,
And
yeah.
I think also pointing out certain things that are maybe at fault with the item itself, if it's cracked or chipped and somebody might hurt themselves or it might break easily, are great ways to start to also weed through things. It's your favorite cup, but it's leaking because
Yes.
the crack is
Yes. Oh
getting
my
ever
gosh. You're
larger.
just talking my language, Nancy.
Yeah.
All the things. So my next question was going to be when a client is really stuck and just can't part with anything, where do you start?
Mhm.
And so I love that you're saying just start with things that are broken or non-functioning, right? I mean, and we all have it. I have things that I'm like, oh, I might fix that. Maybe I'm going to use that. And maybe you might, right? So, okay. But like the things that of the 40 teacups you have, do you really need the cracked one? No. But another thing that you and I talked about was where is my stuff gonna go?
Right.
So
Right.
talk to me a little bit about that piece of this puzzle.
Right. And again, going back to the starting early, it's really great to know if there are uh, family members that would love to have some of these things. And it doesn't just go with your immediate family. This goes out because so many of our parents' generation had their parents' things. And if they were multiple siblings, are there other family members that might like these things? And to talk about where those things might go if it isn't to you. Also, there's the thought of, do you have philanthropic wishes? Are there places that you would like those items or the proceeds from a sale or they where they could be donated to make a difference? And understanding that philanthropic need or want to give to a place is a huge start. One of the people I've worked with was very important for her to give to hospice. And hospice had a thrift store, and that was the place that we took all of the items. And so if you know that in advance, all of us can do research to find out places to give, which is great. But if it doesn't mean anything to the person that you're doing it with, then they may not be as ready to give it up if they
Right.
know it's going somewhere. One of the things I had a gentleman that passed away and he was a professional still with all of his professional clothes. I took it to the local university, to the career place where for the first time that might have been a student's first suit that they had.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all sorts of ways to be creative in the donating process as well. And then those items aren't going into the trash or just not being used. There's always a place to find a home for things. So it's a really good way to start talking about philanthropic
Mm-hmm.
interest and
And I
place
know, like, my
this.
mom doesn't particularly want to give to the Goodwill. I don't know why, just whatever.
Mhm,
That just doesn't, that's not her thing. And
mhm,
so she's happy to give to, she really wants to support veterans.
mhm,
Great. Okay, great.
mhm,
So let's
mhm.
let's go do that. Although we did go to one veterans drop-off place and she was like, I don't know about this. Like she just wasn't really ready to let go of some of the things. And so
Yes.
we had to sort of pivot and decide we're going to come back another day. Because it is that, like, I think what I try to encourage her to do is like, let's put it in the garage,
Hmm.
let it be there for a few months. If you
Hmm.
don't need it, let's move it out. Now, the
Hmm.
problem with that is things have a way of finding their way back into the house. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to respect that the actual delivering of the item is the hard part. And so, like, let's find a good place where you feel good that it's going to go to good use,
Yeah.
you know?
And here in San Diego, there are so many. I mean, I do emergency relief work for an
Mhm.
organization, and they have a thrift store. So there's loads of places. It's just finding the resource, and it's a matter of finding somebody that knows. So now you have me.
Now I have you. I know I am
You have
so happy
me.
to have you in my back
And I'm
corner.
and I'm happy to I'm happy to offer up some other some options for where those
Well,
things might go. But
yeah,
yeah,
but it's
and if
hard.
especially if they saw it, maybe that's the other thing to see. If it's a place that they see, to your point,
Yeah.
that it resonates with them. And this could be a long process, but if they understand the mission of what those organizations do, that's also an easier step to make than just trying to go, this is the easiest thing because I know the name.
Right. Well, and the other thing that we have, and I know you must have this with some of your clients, is, well, I think X, Y, and Z are worth something.
Hmm.
Right. And so there might not be an emotional attachment to it. Like I'm going to take digital cameras for an example, because I was just at an older person's estate sale and they had a slew of digital cameras out and they were all about $50. I mean, meanwhile, I thought like, who's going to charge $50 for like a 1982 digital camera? Well, actually, like my daughter's a teenager, teenagers want these now, right? So they actually have some residual value. So my mom will say, well, let's put it on Facebook Marketplace. Well, that's so great in theory. And if I lived here all the time and I had no job and no family, like that'd be great. But the reality of the time that it takes to do that relative to the cost and the revenue generating, like I don't know if it's worth it. So, I mean, do you have any suggestions or thoughts about dealing with those expectations?
Sure. And I think that there's all different ways to do it. If you are a savvy person that wants to put it on Facebook, as you said, great. That's great. And there are wonderful tools that some of our apps have that can tell you if there's value to something. So you can take a picture of it and you can look and see if it's worth it. There are consignment shops. There are places that are brick and mortar that are estate sale people that have brick and mortar places, or they'll come in and sell it for you. So we're not as likely to do garage sales as we used to do.
Yeah.
That was something that was such a popular. We still see them around, but a lot of the times it's just not as it's just not as desirable to do for whatever reason. But there are other ways to consider it, and the donation part of it is also another way to consider that those are write-offs for your estate as well as knowing that they're going to go to somebody that needs it.
Mm,
One of my clients was a breeder of dogs. And so all the equipment and things that were required for breeding dogs was in his house. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, so, what do I do with all this? So, I have a friend that is a vet at the Humane Society. And what a great way to understand that those items will really be used in the proper place.
right.
So it's finding the right home for those items, because otherwise it's just what do I do with
I
it?
know. I mean, and it's back to
Yeah.
like tapping into your network a little bit, right? Like, who do you
Yes.
know that knows somebody that does this and
Right.
maybe they can benefit from it? And
Exactly.
then, yeah, everybody feels good about it.
Yeah.
How do we give things out amongst a family so that it's fair? We've all heard the story where like the sister is all of a sudden on a visit one day to her family and all of a sudden the engagement ring has gone missing, or these plates have suddenly come out of the hutch and where are they? Where were they? Like there's these sort of inappropriate ways of taking or giving, perhaps. So let's talk for a minute about how we can be intentional and fair and thoughtful as the kids or as the parents about allocating who gets what.
It's a touchy subject because not only does the parent feel that divisive within the family. Sometimes the siblings, if they're not divisive, haven't been divisive, become so because
Yes.
of things. And I think one of the best things that I have found that helps really well is to have a way to start the rotation. Whatever that is, a number between 1 and 10, drawing straws, however you want to do it, where it starts with one person, the next person in line gets the next choice, and it's all by chance. It isn't something that is predetermined by your age or proximity or any of those kinds of things. And it's a nice way to keep it even all the way around. Now, there may have been pieces early on in childhood that your parents or anybody's parents might have thought, I want this to go to someone. And that's also that discussion to have. Are there things that you'd like to try and gift now so that you can enjoy watching us enjoy it?
Hmm.
So again, getting those items out of the way right away, in a way that is making it less of dividing things up because they were already um, promised or gifted in advance. But the process of going around is helpful. It's very helpful and fair. I mean, the first person, obviously, if they want whatever item and everybody coveted that, that's the luck of the draw.
Right.
And then it's not, it's not, it's not because of any other reason, but for the fact that they happen to have chosen the right number. So
Right.
it's a hard thing. And again, unless it's been designated already by the parents or the family member or whomever, great Aunt Charlie, Uncle Charlie, you don't know those things. And sometimes they're written in and sometimes they're not. And this is a nice way to have it be broken up. And include, depending on how it works, if the first generation doesn't want things, but the next generation does, that maybe they all do that same process. So that's another way to make it even more removed, and
Yeah,
without
that's
the
a great idea. Because
enjoyment.
sometimes you think like, well, my sister, neither my sister nor I would like that. So just off with it. But maybe my young adult daughter who's moving into her first apartment, maybe she would like the blender or the china or the, TV, whatever it is, right? So I think that's
Absolutely.
that's really good advice. Let's talk for a minute about some of financial planning issues, because I know that that's also sort of something that you work with and partner with and do for folks. I feel like the financial planning piece is really where it can get complicated and awkward because depending on how you were raised, maybe money was something that was never discussed in your family. Maybe you have no idea how much money your parents have, what their house is worth, or maybe you do. But it's for me, I've navigated my way through it with my parents. They've been amazing. But having the beginning conversations again is hard. So, can you talk a little bit about how you coach your families to sort of, I don't know, break the ice?
Sure. So a third party is
Yeah.
always helpful. And in that case, that might be depending on what assets the family has, it would be a trust estate attorney or maybe a financial planner that has access to those kinds of things. And in the end, in the absence of all of those, maybe there's a bank that the families work with that they understand, and to have something in place that if either parent or person is able to discuss things, that there is somebody that can in the end with you. And finance is such a personal thing. It's such a hard subject to go through. And I've had so many different sides where nobody knew anything. Some are very transparent and know everything. The ones that don't know anything, it's hard because when those people have passed away, if there was nothing, then it becomes much more up to the courts to decide where those things go. Now, I'm not an attorney, I'm not an accountant, I'm none of these things, but I know for fact that watching these families go through the process, having something in place, uh, as extensive as a trust or as little or as simple as a will, All of those things are very helpful coming down to the end. But in the end, if you don't have anybody helping with that process, it ends up having to the family members have to go through the court, go
Hmm.
get an attorney, and all of that is quite expensive. So understanding that in the end, it's going to help the family members or the executor or whomever is going to be helping out with these with the estate once the person has passed away. Hopefully, those are some ways to kind of say it would really be helpful for us
Hmm.
if there was something in place or someone in place that could help guide us through this process, because they really do need to have the legal side of that.
Hmm.
Certainly not
Right.
something you want to mess with on your own or
No,
can't,
definitely not.
really. You can't. Yeah. So
No, you can't. And I think something that maybe you were the one that told me this, but it's really asking your parent, I want to help you achieve your goals. I want to know what you want to have done with your estate so that I can honor it. I mean, at least that's my point of view. I'm not saying that's everybody's point of view.
Yeah, no, no, no. And that's such a lovely lead in because it's non-threatening. It's really just saying whatever you want, we want to make sure it's in place.
And I can't do it if I don't know it, right? I can't, if you don't
Right.
tell
But if
me.
it's not you, then maybe somebody else knows it.
Right.
So again, if they say, well, we're going to go see an attorney, well, then the attorney's, got it. They have some documentation, but you don't, but to have that would be really helpful. And, I think we spoke about it too. There's some wonderful tools that are out there about where things are and how to find things and where accounts are and things like this. There's a couple of different places, but a product that I think you even had mentioned to me, which is a knockbox. We'll give them a little plug there,
Yeah.
which is a wonderful way to consolidate all of the different items that you'll need once somebody has either not been able to take care of themselves or has passed away. And to have all of them, and we can just sit here and probably not hit every single thing that you have that that you're, oh gosh, I forgot about that policy, or oh, there's another thing here that I haven't talked about. And I feel that those items, either electronically or physically, to have in a place is a gift for your
Hmm.
family. It's
Absolutely.
a
And
gift.
even
Yeah,
things like the keys to your house. I mean,
exactly.
little things like you just, I mean, my
Right,
parents, the garage, you can't plug a number in on the garage and get in the house, right? So
right,
it's, I mean, and I think I have a key somewhere in my key drawer, which has like 400 other keys in it. But, I
right.
think there's like a place where like this is where your key would go. So
Yeah,
just, right,
there is.
thinking through a lot of those fundamentals that we just kind of take for granted, right?
Granted. And those items are actually, they'll walk you through. They
Yeah.
actually have a template. They just walk you through what you should do. And it's such a helpful tool. It's a nice gift to give to people, actually.
It is. I mean, I'm gonna be totally transparent. I bought one for my parents last time I was there. It's still sitting there, waiting to be executed, but that's okay. I mean, I think that's what I learned with a lot of these processes, right?
Right.
It's really like a slow build. So, okay, we got the thing in here. Everybody
Yeah.
agrees it needs to get done. And then 6 months later, we will perhaps
Yes, get
tackle
there. And
doing
for
it.
you, maybe to consider doing it
Oh,
yourself with
yeah.
your
Yep.
own things, and then you're ready to know what to do going with your,
Right.
parents. So yeah.
Yes, I told them, I said, I'll do it myself first because the
Yes.
same. I
Good.
mean, nobody knows, right? No one knows how long we're here for. So let's be
Yes.
ready.
Yes. Yes.
Because like I think you said it and I hear it a lot. I feel like now no decision is a decision, right? So if you don't plan for it, it's going to happen one way or another. You might as
It
well take
will.
charge. Is
Yes.
there anything else from your experience that you would want to share today?
Sure, sure. I think I'm every single job that I have had, or family that I've worked with, or individual that I've worked with has been different. And so the issues that you find or the things that you're surprised by are different every single time. And I don't know that I could have ever said this until I had to do it, but check for money under the mattress. And who knew that you could save buckets full of coins and that somebody has to actually deal with those. So again, there are just every single place that you go and things that you and items that you see are unique.
Right.
And I am always pleasantly surprised. There's always funny stories that come out of it, but always reassured that there's never one way to do anything. And so just be patient, be open, flexible, and sometimes to find another way to say something so it's not so direct and really can hit somebody the wrong way. Sometimes just going around it first will give you better results rather than asking the question directly.
That's
Just
great advice for lots
work.
of things in our life. Sometimes the best path is not the direct path.
Yes. We like to get it done, but not always the best way to go.
Right. I've learned that in lots of areas of my life, but I continue to have to relearn it, apparently. Well, this has been so fun. I love that you made time to meet with us and share all your expertise and advice so that those of us that are starting this path can hopefully do a better job and have it be less stressful, less anxiety provoking. So I'm just really grateful for your time.
Of course. Thank you for thinking of me. I really appreciate it.
Who Gets the China is written and hosted by Kirsten Mao, produced by Aaron Bryce of Blue Ogden Productions. Our theme music is composed by Greg Fellman of Wind Sand Productions. Our cover art is by Jen Beam of Gigawatt Studio. For more stories and expert advice, follow along on Substack or at www.whogetsthechina.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who might appreciate the conversation. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time.